everyone, it's Carol here at Oak House Journals. As always, a very big warm welcome from me. Thank you for joining me on my channel. And I'm going to do week 26 or assignment 26 in Margarete Miller's Collage weekly planner project for 2023. So I have my usual piece of lightweight cardstock with a border marked around it here. And I'm going to be working inside that border on this piece of paper. The prompts for this time round, rubber stamping in two colours. Well, I'm going to stamp one of the colours in red archival ink. The other colour, I'm not quite sure, probably black, but we'll see. So if I'm going to do some rubber stamping, I need some stamps. I've got this gorgeous Mackie stamp, and I've also got some of these correspondence stamps. And what I thought was I would stamp a frank mark. If I lift this one out, this is a smaller scale than these, a frank mark or a check mark on an actual stamp. So that was my thinking with the black ink. So I'm going to pop those to one side until I'm ready to use them along with my ink. The next prompt was a hexagon. Well, if you've watched my channel, you'll know that I've been making some of these tiny little English paper pieced hexagons for some journals that I'm working on. And I've just snaffled one of them to use on this project. The next prompt, or prompt number 3, is a face. Well, this is an image out of an Australian magazine. And I love this image, and I've stored it away ever since the beginning of the year, thinking it's going to come in at some stage for one of these prompts. So this is the one I'm using it on. So I've got that, a set of numbers. I've got this. Now this looks like a postcard, but actually it isn't. It's the image of a postcard from a magazine that I've cut out. And as you can see, it's got columns of numbers on it. And I'm going to be using this and obviously those numbers there to hit that prompt. The only thing that slightly bothers me is that this stamp is wonky. It's not square on this image of a postcard. Also, I'm not too convinced that it's going to go with this. Now, I know that there are green trees here, but I'm not going to use the whole of this image, so those are not particularly going to show. So I've lifted out my pot of stamps here, and I'm going to root through and see if I can maybe find a blue one which is going to pick up on this gorgeous rich blue sky. So that's something else to use. Text in a different alphabet. I've got this page here out of a vintage Chinese book, and it's doubled over, but I'm not going to use it double. What I thought I would do would be to cut along the outside of that line there and use the border, but here's my text in a foreign language or in a different alphabet. And as a belt and braces for my lovely friend Leanne, she always has apoplexy when I have to do stamping on these assignments, because I usually do the stamping at the end, but I decided what I would do this time round was to test out that Mackie stamp on some more of this paper to see what it would look like in that red archival ink, and it looks absolutely gorgeous, doesn't it? So I may well just cut this out and stick it on here and call that my stamping in a different colour, but I still will stamp the check mark on the stamp that I put on here, which, as I say, may well be a blue one. So what's the last prompt, or the bonus prompt? Well, that is a tall building, and I've got another image out of a magazine, this time a travel magazine, and I'm going to use this tall building here. I know there is another one just here ghosted in the background, but I'm not going to use that one. I'm going to go for this one. So wish me luck, everybody, because I've been crafting this morning and it hasn't gone well, so that really doesn't bode well for me trying to do a collage today, but I'm going to give it a go. First things first, I wanted this as a bit of a background, so I'm just going to position some things to have a quick look before I do any trimming. I'm thinking maybe something like that. I don't really want the rest of these buildings showing. I'll pull this one in slightly so that I've got a little bit of white before the pencil border on this left-hand side. Similarly, I can do that on this side. I can cover up these with that, like that. Maybe move it up to hide this one in the background there. So maybe pull it up something like that. So I've got I'll have a little bit of staggering going on up there. And then I've got to get my face in. Now, obviously, I don't want to change the orientation of this, but I would like to get a good portion of it in. I'm wondering if there's like a T mark on its side here, and I'm wondering whether I can just position the corner of this underneath that and then cut it off so that this border comes all the way down here, or this line comes all the way down here, and this is trimmed so that it sits slightly inside it. And I think that will work. It still leaves me a column of numbers there. Wondering whether to move that up so that this is along this border here, and I think I will do that. Maybe move it over to the left hand side as well to give me as much showing of this as I can get. The top of this can sit under that line there, like that, which will hide that other building on the right hand side of this piece of paper here. So I'm thinking something like that would work. There's only two things missing now, and that is the stamping and the hexagon. So I'm thinking with the hexagon I could use it in this corner, something like that, or maybe put it at an angle. Let me look through my stamp box and see if I can find a stamp that I can cover up this wonky one with. And you see what I mean about that one. It doesn't go with this picture particularly, especially if I'm cutting it off there. Whereas if I can find a blue one and put that there, it solves two issues. One, it ties in with this image and the gorgeous blue sky, and the other is that I could put it on straight, fingers crossed, I can put it on straight so that my eye isn't immediately drawn to how wonky that is. So let me have a look and see if I can find a blue stamp. Okay, so I've got this stamp. It's not ideal, but it's the best I've got. The reason I've chosen it is because, yes, it's blue, and the other thing is that it's got a touch of red, and I wanted to stamp in red. If you remember, I wanted to stamp in this red archival ink. So this is where I think I'm going with this. In fact, actually that stamp will need to go that way round, won't it? And I did have a pause then, thinking, oh my goodness, is that green one still going to show underneath? But it won't. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to glue that stamp in place, get that done, and then I'm going to trim this down to the size I want, and then come back in and start playing with these pieces again. So let me get that done. As you can see, I've trimmed down this background piece of paper and just position my pieces back in place, and I've also just snipped this out from the piece of paper that it was stamped onto, and I've just got that off to one side. So I'm going to put some glue behind these pieces because, as you can see, I've put some paper clips and I'm holding them roughly where I want them to be on my page. I'm lining up the postcard with the edge of the tall building, and I'm just going to turn it round, pop a bit of glue behind these pieces. None of this is glued to the actual white base here because I may find that I need to move it slightly. This, let me move that up slightly. This I wanted to have lined up with that T on the postcard so that I've got a couple of lines of text showing there, or sorry, a couple of lines of the numbers showing there, and I wanted to cut it inside this black border here. So I'm going to cut it about there and give it a trim with my paper trimmer. Now I've got some nice staggering going on there, and I could have that up there to take away that corner, but I'm actually thinking it would be better in and around this corner, and I was thinking I could perhaps slide that under there like that, so that it sits inside that black border. Because I've got a gap here, I thought perhaps I could have that there with the hexagon at a rakish angle to break up this straight edge I've got down there, or I could even have it like that. Now I'm thinking that works better like that. I'm not liking this area up here. Let me just see what this looks like. I'm going to just put a piece of this up in that corner. Do you know, I'm actually liking that there, and I am wondering about putting another piece of that under here. And you know, I think I'm going to do that. I've positioned that scrap, the offcut of this stamping, underneath this top piece up here. So there you go, you can see it there. And I'm liking that it's giving me a flow of this up into that corner. And this I've pulled, if I move my fingers across, I've pulled it right out to this edge. So it's squared up everything, and that, whether that's right or wrong in the collage world, is working better for me. I do have staggering going on here on the actual inside of this sandy coloured paper, so I'm quite happy with that. So I'm going to glue this piece to this piece so that I can have it sitting nicely. Now I am wondering whether to do some stamping in red up there, but I'm going to leave that for the moment. What I'm going to do with this little thing is I'm going to have it across there. Now let's get the check mark stamped on here. So I was thinking about using this little one as my check mark. Just kind of have it here so that the lines can actually go up onto this piece. I've got some Hickory Smoke Distress ink here. I've got my stamp on a block. So I've got my check marks, and I'm liking that they're matching on both sides. So I've got that one there, which was the original, and this is the new one that I've just stamped. And I'm going to come in and stamp with this one, which is this one there, and I'm just going to pop it there, and I'm going to do it in red. I am tempted to go down and over that one, but I'm not going to. Just feels like I need to do something to that, and I'm not quite sure what. I'm wondering whether to go in with an airmail right across it like that, perhaps, or even that little triangle there might be quite nice. Let's have a look and see what that looks like. Would break it up a little bit more. It's a bit of an uneven surface. I think I will. I think I'm going to go in with that little one in black. Oh, it's come out a little bit smudged, but I'm okay with that. I can live with that. I haven't glued this down to my backing paper, so I'll do that very quickly now. So here we go, everybody. This is my finished assignment for this week. I'm so sorry the sun's come out, so you're probably struggling to see it in any detail, but as always there will be photos at the end, so hopefully you can see it in all its glory in a minute or two, or at least at the end of the video. So very quickly, let me go through the prompts with you. The first one was rubber stamping in 2 colours. Well, I did Hickory Smoke Distress Oxide ink up here for a check mark, and I did red archival ink there and black archival ink there, and some more red archival ink at the bottom. So red and black were the colours that I used for that one. A hexagon, well, I've got my little hexagon down here. A face, I've got my sculpture here, Australian sculpture, a set of numbers, I've got them on this faux postcard in the back, a text in a different alphabet, well I've got my Asian text here, and finally bonus, a tall building, I've got this one to the left hand side of my piece. So as always everybody, thank you so much for watching and bearing with me as I battled my way through another challenging collage assignment. I hope you've not been put off too much and will join me next week for assignment number 27. So until then, happy crafting, bye bye now.